Okay, just a little video, follow-up video to Joe's new video, now that his channel has been restored. Thank you so much, Google. We are so grateful that you are still letting us have our little voices on here until everyone is silenced slowly. Anyway, Joe brought up this point about participation, and of course most of our viewers know that we're not talking about anticipation. We're talking about not anticipation, of the latest coroner report from Los Angeles. And no, we're not trying to diss anything here. Michael Jackson fans are welcome on our channels. It's not about that. It's about something bigger and more important. So I'm going to talk about two parts of participation here today or tonight, and it's going to be very hard for me to squeeze this into a 10-minute vid. First of all, the participation of Goldman Sachs in potentially a huge financial fraud, possibly even bigger than Arthur Andersen, Enron, and Madoff and everything combined. So I'm going to post some links to some very pertinent articles, which I hope you'll find the time to read. You can hear a little child here screaming in the background. Possibly, we should all be screaming at this point. So, basically, there has been an allegation made, which is very, very serious, namely that Goldman Sachs, through access to the system in terms of software, and as a result of their special government perks, was or may have been able to read any kind of data on trades before it's committed. In other words, before they commit their own trades, and place their own buys or sells accordingly in that very brief moment, which might last, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds or so. And thus allowing them potentially to steal buttloads of money every day from the rest of the world. And people are starting to question how long this has actually been going on. Now, there was a writer, Matt Taibbi, over at Rolling Stone, and I'll post a link to that article if I can, which takes this issue to task, and he goes all the way back to the Depression era of the 1920s and so on, and market manipulation of essentially big finance, and he focuses on Goldman Sachs in particular. And some of the interesting points that he made in some of his articles, particularly in terms of the price manipulation of gas prices, gasoline prices, which just happened, a year ago, which, as everyone knows, how can you have gas prices of $4 a gallon on 6 months ago, and now all of a sudden it's going down to $1.50 or something? It's certainly is not has nothing to do with peak oil, even though peak oil might actually be a reality. But every average citizen knows that there is manipulation going on. Well, Matt flashes this out in his articles on Rolling Stone, in Rolling Stone magazine. And, Wall Street, for some reason, took this writer very, very seriously, and they came back with vehement attacks against him. Now, this is just an independent writer at Rolling Stone magazine. He isn't affiliated with ABC News, NBC News, nobody, no major network. He just contacts his own sources and so on. So it should make you think, for one thing. One of the things he wrote just yesterday, he said, "It's over. We're officially royally fucked. No empire can survive being rendered as a permanent laughingstock," which is exactly what happened a few weeks ago when the buffoons who have been running things in this country finally went one step too far. It happened when Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner was forced to admit that he was once again going to have to stuff billions of taxpayer dollars into a dying insurance agent called AIG, and you may remember that name from last year. And the corporation that got rich by insuring the concrete and steel industry in the America of the past, but which is now trading their financial futures on the card tables of Wall Street. It just goes on and on. And another thing he had to say, or somebody else actually had to say, squeezing the oligarchs, though, this is coming from a perspective of a third world country, right? And we're pretty much approaching that at this point. Probably, sooner rather than later. Squeezing the oligarchs, though, is seldom a strategy of choice amongst emerging markets. Quite the contrary, at the outset of the crisis, the oligarchs are usually among the first to get extra help from the government, such as preferential access to foreign currency, or maybe just a nice tax break. And here's a classic Kremlin bailout technique, the assumption of private debt obligations by the government. Under duress, generosity towards old friends takes many innovative forms. Meanwhile, needing to squeeze somebody, most emerging market economies and governments look first to the ordinary working folk, at least until the riots start and get too large. Another kind of participation, and I think I am going to have to make this a two-part video now, is very different. It concerns the participation in war crimes of the Israeli army, their defense forces. And there was an article which was posted on BBC News just this morning, which was taken down very quickly, of course. Also, most of the links have disappeared. And I've spent some time reading those links. In fact, I spent my entire lunch break on this. And it was just a flash, but I was able to follow the links and investigate at least a little bit further. And this is very, very serious. And it's I almost couldn't continue back with my work after reading this. So that should give you an inkling of what's to come. Anyway, thanks for listening, and thanks, Joe, for keeping up with your videos. Don't give up until they throw us off the internet here. See you later. Bye.